Welcome to the Fail Forward podcast. The purpose of this podcast is change the negative stigma around failure into a positive. Failure is only a negative if we do not learn from it and we give up. Welcome back to the Fail Forward podcast. So today I'm going to be talking about perception of how people see other things in life. Now, we all see and use social media a lot, and quite often we'll scroll through social media, and majority of people are living their best life on social media, and I certainly know, I'll put my hands up, I generally only post positive things. I've started to do a lot more Facebook Lives recently, especially since launching this podcast, to talk about the different challenges I've had, the highs and lows, and trying to be more transparent and honest. And I'm not saying people are wrong for just living their best life on social media, but it can certainly give us a warped perception of where people are in life. But it's not generally their fault. It's generally something that we have within us when we see somebody that is being really successful, or for example, the person who's ripped. You know, you see them, the person that's really, really ripped, and you think, he looks great or she looks great. And what we don't see between that is the years and years of dedication in the gym, the hours and hours and hours that they've put in. And it's the same with business owners. Generally, you see somebody driving along in a nice car or has great success. Generally speaking, that's not happened overnight. That is something that's been worked hard for, that is had a lot of challenge, a lot of highs and lows. And you know my story, there's been a lot of lows, there's been some good highs as well, but it's not something that generally happens overnight. So what I really wanted to talk about today is just understanding what goes into life, into business, into creating the lives that we want. Trying to make people understand that what we see, there's a lot more to it than what meets the eye quite often. And it's what I learned very early on when I went down my self-development route, called the Iceberg Effect. And the Iceberg Effect is something where you see the iceberg on top, but you don't see the underneath. And that's the same with seeing someone like from the gym. You see what's on the outside, which is the masculine ripped body, but you don't see the hours and hours and hours of training and dedication down the bottom. And that's the same with what I was talking about with the business. And it's really just to say that anything that you see is generally, there's been a lot of hard work and there's been a lot of dedication and commitment going into that. And we can all do that if we want to. And I've talked about it in the last episode about your 90-day plan and 90-day cycle. We can all change our lives. We've all got the opportunity to do that. You know, there's something called fixed and open mindset and growth mindset. And quite often we feel like the cards we've been dealt are the cards we've been dealt. But apart from some really extreme circumstances, we all have the ability to change our life and make success out of our life. And that's kind of what I did when I lost it all. I went down a really bad path. And I remember then I'd look at other people and think, it's all right for them. It's all right for them. They're doing all right. It's all right for them. You know, they got handed out this, or it's all right for them because they got this. They got lucky with that. And you get very much into a negative mindset where you think everyone else is all right and you're not, and they've somehow created success, and why have I not? And it takes a lot to pull yourself out of that. But one thing I started learning is that it takes time, hard work, commitment, dedication. Quite often, quite a lot of sacrifice has to be made. Like Liam Doe talked about it. Business owners are selfish in his interview, and there's some times where you've got to just be selfish and go for the things you want, but understand that that's going to bring abundance to your life in other ways, and for the future of your family, etc. So the iceberg effect can be a very inspirational theory if you see it. But if you're just seeing it, like I was talking about at the beginning, from a social media perspective, or you're looking out from in and you're not seeing the hard graft and everything that goes into it, then it can be easy to make that feel quite overwhelming. And I remember looking through Facebook a lot, and it makes you feel like, in a really negative way, emotions that you don't want to feel. That's why I have to have social media blackouts sometimes, because it's so easy to be looking at what someone else is doing and feel a bit overwhelmed and think, why am I not there? Why am I not at that point in my life? But I think that's where it's really important to understand those feelings and understand that why you're having those feelings. And actually, maybe it's not your time, maybe that's not even part of your goal or your why or what you're aiming for. And actually, that's just a distraction, seeing what someone else is doing, because it's making you feel, inferior and low. So it's just really understanding that we can all have the lives we want if we go down and do the things and change our life and maybe change some habits and change the way we are. And we don't have to feel like that. Really, when you see someone successful, and it's something I've had to work hard on a lot, is when you see success, you go, fair play to them. I'm really happy they're doing well. And have that gratitude for someone else. Have that abundance mindset of saying fair play to them, rather than thinking, shit, I want that. But if you think, shit, I want that, think, shit, I want that. I want to work out how I do that. And that's where really the iceberg effect comes into play. And certainly the 10,000 hour rule, like I think it's what people say, to become really good at something, you have to be doing it for 10,000 times or 10,000 hours. Like, I'm currently learning how to play golf. I'm terrible at golf. I've spent my whole business life avoiding those days when people ask me, Henry, do you want to come on a golf day? And I'll be like, no, I don't know how to play golf. And I'd avoid it. And then through lockdown, my friend took me out a couple of times, and I was terrible again, and I thought, okay, but I kind of enjoy this. And I tried other sports like tennis and football and rugby, and enjoyed them all, but couldn't see myself playing them for my whole life. And now I've found a sport, golf, which I really enjoy playing, but I'm terrible at it. So I'm currently in a process of knowing that I'm going to be terrible for a while, but I need to turn up 3 or 4 times a week. I need to get the right training. So I've got a coach who trains me, and I need to be putting in those hours. And I'm not going to suddenly and again, I sit at the driving range and I saw someone next to me and they're pinging balls 200 yards, and I'm like hitting it sideways, backwards, forwards, wherever, slicing it. And it's really easy to look at that person and go, oh, but they're so good, and get overwhelmed by how good they are. But actually, I now know, because I've done this self-development and gone down this rabbit hole of understanding that it takes a lot of time to develop a particular skill, that I know I'm in a process right now, and it's going to take me time to get my swing right and to become good. And that person that is hitting those 200-yard plus drives is, they've been doing it since they were young. And I'm started at the age of 37. I'm now 38, and I've got a long way to go. But, I can play golf for the next 30 or 40 years. But my point of telling you all of this is it's just understanding that we're at a point where it's never too late to try something new, or try and learn something new, start a business, start a new hobby, start a sport, because we can go down this rabbit hole and learn. And as long as we dedicate time to it, and very importantly, getting the right guidance. So whether it's in business, a mentor, being part of a mastermind, whether it's in sport, getting a coach, someone to teach you, because it's not just turn up and kick a ball 10,000 times. You're going to need to understand, when you're kicking a ball 10,000 times, whether you're doing it right, looking back and understanding and learning and developing. I used to have this thing where I used to try different things all the time and go, nah, I'm not naturally talented at that. I'm not naturally talented at that. So I'd give up, because I want to be good at things, and I give up too early. And now I've learned that you need to put the time in. It's then you can really, as long as you enjoy it, that's when you can really fix yourself to something. Matthew Syed, who I've talked about before, who writes Black Box Thinking, I'm just halfway through one of his books called Bounce. And I've been thinking this before, and then I read his book, and he hits it bang nail on the head. He talks about Tiger Woods in golf. He was in an environment where his father taught him golf from a very young age. Serena and Venus Williams, his father dedicated himself to being their coach. They were training on a court in the sort of the Bronx type area they were living in, surrounded by gangs, and they just continually played. Like David Beckham, he just spent his time constantly curling that ball in top net, and he practiced and practiced and practiced. And that's going back to that iceberg effect. Like, we see these sports stars and go, wow, they're amazing, they're naturally talented, they've got a gift. But what we don't see is the fact that they've been practicing every single day. They've had the right environment, the right coaches, the right people who have been molding them into the people they have. And that doesn't mean like looking at my children, for example, I know my son Ned, he's 3.5 and he's already very good at football at 3.5. He's got a left foot. He can tackle, pass. He's already doing really, really well at it. And my dream, obviously, is for Ned to become a Premier League football player, like every dad would who's into football, which I love football. But I know the only way it's going to work is if we give him the right environment, but not only the right environment, that he's going to want me and other coaches to push him hard. Because he's 3.5 right now and we don't know what he wants. So you've got to get the level right. You've got to enjoy that, what you're doing, and your child or whoever it is that's doing it has got to enjoy it, because doing 10,000 hours of something you're not going to enjoy, that's not going to make you have passion about that particular, whatever it is you're doing, sport. And I don't want to push my son away. So I've got to have the fine balance. Yes, that's my dream. I look at it and think, even if he becomes a half decent footballer, that's going to do wonders for his self-confidence at school, when he can kick a football about and be good at it. Yes, the absolute dream would be he becomes a Premier League football player. That'd be amazing. But I also know that if he is going to come that way and he really enjoys it, that I need to give him the right environment, the right guidance, and he's going to have to put a lot of hard work and dedication into it. Because yes, there are probably some people that are generally naturally talented. I'm not saying natural talent is a complete myth, but generally it is their environment that person's been brought up in. It's been the dedication of the particular person, and then also the coaches and the parents and the people around it that have created the child prodigies that have come out the back of it. Generally, if you look back at anyone's life of any child that's then made super success, it's generally because of the amount of hours and the time that they've put into it. So it just goes to show, with all of that what we really see on the outside is not actually what's underneath. And that's why I wanted to talk in this episode about the iceberg effect, is when you're feeling like you're seeing something else that's making you feel slightly inferior, or you're looking through social media and it's giving you those negative thoughts, try and put them in perspective. And I think when you put things in perspective and context, it can really help you understand your feelings and the way you feel. And it can change necessarily those negative feelings into a positive feeling. And if we can have gratitude and praise for the people that are doing well, and actually see what the underneath of it is, it's going to really help us, give us the abundance from inside to help create the lives that we want to create. Because I believe that everything is possible in life, like pretty much anything. Maybe not being, the prime minister of the country, or maybe you could be the prime minister's country, or being the president of America, for example. That's not something that's attainable. But generally, most things that you want are possible with the right guidance, with the right environment and the right mindset, more importantly. And mindset is everything. Will help you achieve what you want to achieve in life. So that's what I wanted to talk to you today about, is the 10,000 hour rule, the iceberg effect, and really how you can change your life and business and not feel so negative when things are coming up on social media, because there's no harm in that, in the sense of, because I do it all the time and I still do it, and I'm still having to train my mind into the abundance, gratitude mindset. But that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about today. I hope that helps in your journey. If anyone wants to talk to me about anything that I've been talking about, please reach out on social media. But thank you for listening to the Fail Forward podcast, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.